Hello, gardening friends. Today is February 2nd, 2023. Happy Groundhog's Day. I thought I'd take you on a quick tour of the backyard. It's about 11 o'clock. There'll be a slight break in the noise of the construction taking place on the street. But I did want to take a walk around and show you what's in bloom because it's supposed to rain tomorrow and rains may disturb some of the plants. It's a little nippy. I bought some more firewood. It's supposed to dip down near freezing, or I should say in the 30s, not near freezing necessarily. Hyacinths are still coming up, still smelling nice here in the backyard. The Johnny Jump Ups are doing better and better because they are now in sun for most of the day. The sun is already starting to raise higher in the sky. Because remember, this deck faces north, so it's in shade all winter long. There you can see the rose garden. Roses are coming along nicely. So is the oxalis. I've decided this year, I've tried spraying it, I've tried grubbing it out, and this year I've decided to just let it win and let it take over, because in the heat of the summer it dies back anyway, and I'm just tired of fighting it. It does have a nice pink flower, which if it was blooming right now would contrast nicely with the purple of the new roses, so I'll choose to look on the bright side. Pelargonium's still blooming. We did some work in the backyard this week. We cut back the cycads, as we did last year. Now realize we are taking a risk. If there's a hard frost, light frost is fine, a hard frost, I would want to cover these open stubs now with blankets to keep them from freezing, because it could do some serious damage to the plant itself. The male cycad, I left some of the green around the edge. We'll see if it gets another shoot this year. I've made the mistake before of cutting all the green off, and what happens, that particular one is male and it will send up the male stalk, and it looks kind of odd when it'll send that up before sending out fresh leaves, so it'll look odd with a stub with a 3-foot long I don't want to call it a bloom, but a bloom structure at the top. We did go ahead and cut off all the ferns that were here, and they will sprout back. I am going to go ahead during the week and trim up these African iris to get the dead out. If I lived out in the country, I think I'd just set them alight. It's a lot easier, but it's too close to my house for here. There you can see the snowdrops are still doing nicely. And my daffodills here have started to bloom. These are the ones that I planted probably about 20 years ago and have naturalized nicely. I don't remember the name of them. The other thing I did this week was cut back the Serenoan repons to free up space for the ligularia here and the ligularia back there. That I planted new last year. This ligularia will be going on its 3rd year. It seems to like this spot in the shade of a palm tree is always a good spot for perennials, because you have to fertilize the heck out of palm trees, so the runoff fertilizer helps the perennials along. I also limbed up this big Serenoan repons and trimmed some of the side branches that were drooping down just so you could walk around it. It makes it a little more presentable. Back in here you can still see the yellow jasmine. More and more flowers are opening. I think I told you I'm going to let it grow on top of the fence this year and just have that whole fence be covered with it. It did do it last year, but I wanted to cut it back to just the trellises, but it really doesn't do it justice. I'm just going to let it grow on the fence. You can see here the grass looks really good. it's ready to be mowed. I didn't want it cut this week because it's just a yucky week, and I don't want to have it pulled out by the roots, so I want to wait till we get a sunny day before it gets cut. It's been an odd week for me. I had my second shingles shot on Monday, and it kind of threw me for a loop, so I've been kind of in a fog, have a slight fever because of that. But I'll recover, and I won't ever get shingles. Yay, hopefully. I remember telling my doctor when he recommended it, I didn't have anything to worry about because I have two really good friends. And I read that a man of my age has a 1 in 3 chance of getting shingles, and one of those friends already got shingles, so I was safe. Doctor didn't buy that. So in any event, and my friend that had shingles said, get the shot. You don't want to have shingles, trust me. So I got the shot. And well, here you see these aren't really pink. They're more red this year, but the hyacinths, that is. But they look fine. They kind of match with the camellias that are still blooming. They've been blooming now for 3 weeks. That's the nice thing about camellias, is you can stretch the bloom season out, and pretty much all winter long you can have different camellias blooming, because they do bloom at different times. Sasanquas are the ones that start. They're the earliest. I did trim my satsuma trees. I noticed that since the hard frost of, I guess, December, that the satsuma trees were sending out all kinds of fresh new growth. And I cut about 3 foot off the top of this, and I really didn't want them wasting a lot of energy sending out new growth on the branches on top of the tree that I was going to cut off. So this is the perfect timing to cut it off and let them expend energy where I won't be cutting it or trimming it off. That tree really looks the best, that satsuma. That satsuma really, really is a testament to how much these trees want to live. Because years ago, when my oak trees fell, they split this tree down the center, and you can see here's the cut. I probably ought to fill that with something, but it's not rotting. But basically all that was a stub about 3 foot off the ground, and all those other branches have grown since then. There were no, I mean, literally it was just a stick in the ground. So all of these other branches grew from that stub. So it's amazing how these trees can recover. So if you ever have a satsuma tree that's too big, you can cut it back without worry. Or if one gets damaged in a hurricane, fear not, it will come back. It may take some time. I don't know, I don't think I've affected, well, of course I've affected how much fruit I'm going to get off this tree by trimming it when I did. But the buds hadn't come on yet, so hopefully when it sends out the new growth, the bottom of this tree will be loaded with flower buds. We'll just have to wait and see. These daffodills are absolutely gorgeous. I don't know the name of them. Let's see if I can show you a close-up of one. It's kind of like a little rose shape. Well, the focus just is not going to happen on my phone. But I planted them probably about 20 years ago, and it's one of the few daffodils that does naturalize in my Zone 8B garden. The only bad thing about this daffodil is the fragrance. Those of you that have commented on paper whites how you don't like the fragrance, Well, paper whites to me have a very sweet fragrance for a day or two. And then when they get a little older, they get kind of an off fragrance that is strong, I'll admit. Well, these daffodils start out with that strong fragrance. And it never really changes, so you don't really want them in your face because they are strong and they, in my opinion, do stink. So I have them in places where they're not close to my nose and I can enjoy them from afar. And the only other thing I wanted to mention for those of you that are in my neighborhood, something to be aware of, I found out early this week that a couple of checks that I put in my mailbox right before Christmas, I was making some donations to charity and I mailed 2 checks on the same day, so I thought, and the checks were never cashed. And I called the charities and they said they never arrived. So be aware that checks may disappear from your mailbox. I'm not afraid that they're going to be cashed because, fortunately, they were to charities with long names. So the fact that the pay to for St. Jude's Children's Hospital and Research Center, good luck trying to erase St. Jude's Hospital and Research Center and putting in another name to pay it. So I'm sure they're not going to be cashed. I did go ahead and put a stop payment. And the second one was to a church back up in New York where I grew up. And the same thing, St. Joseph's Catholic Church is a large name to erase and try and put your name there. So I feel fairly certain that those checks will never be cashed. However, I did put the stop payment in, and if anything, the person just stole from the charities, really. I did wind up cutting new checks to the charity. And I did mail them at the post office. I should say that probably about 15 years ago, the same thing happened to me once before, and at that point I bought and have kept ever since a P.O. box. But I figured, oh, it's Christmas. Why go all the way to the post office to mail a couple of things? So I put them in my mailbox. So just be aware, if you live in this neighborhood, things may disappear from your mailbox. But enough said about that. Other than that, it's been an okay week, and next sunny day I'll do another video. I've got some more cleaning up to do back here for the spring, but I am looking forward to it. Have a good day.